Susie. I did the same as James earlier, so that's my number one. So hello and welcome back to this event, MEF Connects Wholesale event. My name is Susie Manere. I'm the wholesale program lead for the Mobile Ecosystem Forum. This is our last but one session of today, but what a session. We've talked a lot about the fraud, the services that we provide, voice, business messaging. We'll be talking a lot about roaming tomorrow, IoT. We have plenty of different topics on the agenda, but all this is possible. All this is we can only act and be as good as we can in all these domains if we really look after one critical element, which is our talent. And to talk about talent and talent in the wholesale industry, I could not have this session without inviting a very dear colleague of mine, Isabelle Paradis, who has taken the talent case of the wholesale industry very close to her heart. So from MEF, from myself, a very warm welcome to you, Isabelle. Welcome to MEF Connects Wholesale.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you for a great intro. Are you hearing me okay, by the way?
Absolutely. And you haven't got your microphone off, so we can hear you properly. So that's no problem. I know you have great panelists on stage today. So without further ado, I'll leave you the floor, and we're very eager and looking forward to hearing the very great insights that your team has to bring us.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. So here's a fact. The telecom industry is the backbone of the digital age. I think we all agree on that. Yet a staggering 40% of our seasoned professional will be nearing retirement age in the next decade. A very scary number. Additionally, attracting fresh talent is becoming more and more challenging. So I think it's creating a perfect talent storm. So this isn't just a simple hiring dilemma anymore. It's about preserving decades of expertise while infusing new innovative perspective. So we'll spend the next 45 minutes with our esteemed panelists discussing and confronting this pressing issue head-on, discussing solutions, strategies to bridge the gap. The next hour could hopefully redefine how we address one of the telecom's most significant challenge for the next decade, the talent gap. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my panelists. Beatrice Filippi, she's SMS Sales Manager at IDT Global. Hello, Beatrice.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Reuma Halal-Shibi, she's CEO and founder of Recruitment. Good morning, good night. I don't know what time it is, Reuma, for you.
I don't know. At this time, I don't know what time it is. So, but
you look amazing. Whatever time it is, I'm not worthy. She's joining us from New Zealand, so you can imagine what time it is for her. That's commitment for you.
It is.
John Ingram-Marriott is sales mentor to superstars Elon Associate, 1 in a million in our industry. You will see during the discussion today. No pressure, John. And last but not least, hello, John. And last but not least, an industry superstar, Mardia Niehaus. She's SVP HR, Business Partner, Technology and Innovation at Deutsche Telekom. Good afternoon, Mardia.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to be here.
Thank you for joining me. And you know me, I like to go to the heart of the topic from the start. And for me, it starts at the top. Really, we should define, I think, before we discuss anything, what does talent mean to us today? What is talent? What type of talent do we require in today's reality? And also looking forward in the next decade. Maybe, Mardia, you can get us started. What is talent today?
Thank you. I was thinking, Isabelle, how do I answer this question? And I wish I could answer it with one word or with one sentence. But honestly, when I thought about that, I realized it would be very, very difficult to do that, because obviously we need to think of talent, or I think of talent in a broader sense. When you think of a talented musician, there's a very specific lens that you put on it with very specific skills. But when we talk about skills for our industry or talents, it's obviously quite a broad lens that one has on it. So for me, the first thing I think about when I think of finding talented people is I'm looking for people who are intellectually curious and inquisitive. You know, we will speak about our aging industry a little bit later, you know, and we'll get to that. But let's get to that a little bit later. So it's intellectual curiosity and inquisitiveness. It's a good mix of EQ and IQ. So it's you know, when I look at talent, I really look at people, and the reason for that is that I believe more and more we need to be team players. So it's someone that has to be able to work with on their own, of course, to solve problems, but also within a team context. It must be someone who's a problem solver. It must be someone who's, and I haven't mentioned it at the beginning, but analytical or digital, a can-do attitude, someone who does not think in the box, but out of the box. And really this analytical thinking and this probing thinking, specifically with AI coming along and coming of age, you even need this critical thinking capability more than you had before. A mindset of continuous learning, and someone who's quite confident based on all of that. So this is a mouthful, I know, but these are all of the different aspects that I would put together in a pot when I think about talent or describing the kind of talent that we need.
I think it's quite a big challenge because there's quite a few things that you said are almost like opposites. So people that work in, like, you know, that are good at working in teams, but are also good at working independently. That's some people, but not everyone is good at both. And being curious, that can do, so a bit of entrepreneurial spirit in there, curiosity, so wanting to learn, analytics, so some more in technical type of mindsets. That's a big ask. What do you think, Reuma? Do you want to add anything? Because Reuma is a headhunter, so you work with people every day, day in, day out. I know we wrote an article a while ago about the digital talent, but what's your view? Do you agree with Mardia? Is there anything missing that is important that she hasn't mentioned?
I think Mardia was a spot on. I think the new generation and the new hiring, definitely people are versatile, definitely people that agile, people that wants to learn, because the technology is changing so rapidly. In all the time, we have to have people that with their mindsets, they are capable of change. They're capable of adopting change and learning that and fit themselves to the new technology and the new generation. So definitely agree with Mardia.
Okay. Next, we will talk about how we make that happen. But John, anything to add? You're of the more experienced generation. Do you think you still have a role to play? Do you think you're still a talent? What do you think?
I think, to answer your point, first of all, clearly, I think you're suggesting I'm rather old, and I take that in the nicest possible sense. But the very makeup of your team here is interesting. A group of ladies and one man, and I do a lot of training in various organizations, and to my horror, I find I'm mainly talking with men. And I also run a couple of hockey clubs as one of my hobbies. And guess what? Within the hockey clubs, the people who get the work done are the females. So when we talk about talent, I think there's an extraordinary amount of very talented people there who never really get exposed to the telco industry. But here's a bizarre thing. If you turn telco upside down, you have content. And what fires telco is content. And guess what? Women are very good at creating content. So I think in a way, the more that telcos become content providers, which I know is where it's going, the easier it is to get females to join the gang. And having got them in the team, then we do all the right things we do. There is a temptation, however, to believe that technology is the solution to training our talent. And I'm a firm believer in old-fashioned sitting down with real people in front of them, not on screens, not doing any of that stuff, but actually working through real-life examples together. So when we're working on a sales campaign, we'll sit together as a group, huddle up, and work out the pros and cons. And after that, you find you've got the most talented people. Bluntly, they haven't been empowered so often by endless Teams calls, endless Zoom calls. So my contribution to this conversation is get your people together in real live work environments. Bring in the women who are so talented, yet are so not in our telco business in general. So just a couple of comments for you there.
Thank you, John. Very good. And Beatrice, maybe the younger generation, what's your view on talent? You know, what do you think talent means today in our industry? What do we need?
You know, when thinking about this question, something came up in my mind, and that is the fact that nowadays with technology and especially artificial intelligence becoming more and more advanced, what makes talent different is the irreplaceable human factor, I think, because we will never be able to automate that. So regardless of whether you're technical, commercial, support person, it's really that human touch that enables relationships and therefore keeps the industry and the business going. I think that's really, you know, unique, and that's what makes everybody different, especially in this industry that is extremely international. So I would say yes, that's an irreplaceable human factor and the beauty of diversity.
Okay. And maybe one thing I haven't heard much is more the type of knowledge we're looking for. So I guess Reuma or Mardia, what type of knowledge should people gain to become a talent that is relevant in today's reality? You know, I know we talk often about software. I'm sure AI is in the mix. When you yourself, Mardia, within your group, what type of knowledge are you looking for? And maybe Reuma, what type of knowledge are customers looking for when they talk to you? Maybe Mardia, you can go first. Maybe.
Yeah, I think when we are currently looking at technical experts, it is very much in the areas that you've mentioned. So we're looking for people who did some software development, and that's either studied that, engineering as a background, artificial intelligence, but that also with data science and software engineering as a background. Just maybe as a aside, when we looked at the crisis that we had a couple of years ago, when we started to look for skills, we did a massive reskilling and upskilling initiative within our company. The challenge was that when you want someone to become a software developer, it was possible within 7 or 8 months, depending on age, depending on how flexible that person was, for someone to get to a very basic level of knowledge of software development. However, when we were looking in the network space, specific in our network environment, that period of time, you do not become a network engineer in such a short period of time. And this is where we then had to have programs called Each One Teach One, where we had our more experienced, very competent, very wise colleagues who we then paired with people who had then software development background or software engineering background, and who could then be upskilled in this area. So these are these highly analytical skills. I mean, and I just wanted to mention, John made a comment around gender. It is really, for me, a massive topic at this point in time. I didn't think that at this stage we would still be here. When you look at it, depending on the countries in which you operate, but in Germany, for example, we look at STEM graduates. Around 35% of women graduate in this field. But then I look at our employment, and we are still below that 35%. So we've just taken the decision that we, at a minimum, we need to recruit 35%, because this is what the STEM numbers look like. And hopefully, through that, create then a more diverse environment in which you then create an environment and an atmosphere where more women feel welcome, and where they can come and make their contribution. And this is something that unfortunately we haven't got right yet. We're just not there.
Okay, thank you, Maria. I guess you brought me to my next question. Where is the talent shortage? I guess the answer is partly we still have a shortage of women in the industry. Even if they join, they might not stay in because they don't feel comfortable or for many different reasons. But maybe, Reuma, you can tell us, what do you see when your customers come to you looking for talent? Where is the shortage? What other people they're looking for that is difficult to find?
Yeah, I think as a theme of our whole conversation, the technology is the core of what we need and what the shortage is. So a lot of requests comes for network engineers, and then we talked about what type of diversity and other areas that we are missing. Cloud engineers, everything that is related to the new technology, that's where the shortage is. AI and machine learning, those are skills that became relevant more and more the more the technology is there. And I see a lot of requests from the customers requesting for those talent. And then as the network and the technology layer, then comes the sales and the marketing shortage that comes in from the technologies that evolve so quickly. We need the people that have the adaptation to the new technology and have the experience, because the technology is quite new and emerging to the network at the moment. And not too many people have the sales and marketing experience on those new technologies. So as I said, as a theme for all our conversation, the advance in the technology, that's the gap, and that's where we're looking for.
Okay, and we'll talk on how do we try to address that next, but maybe I would like to talk to Beatrice about the young generation. As people know, I'm a big advocate of the young generation joining our industry. Beatrice is working with me on some of these initiatives. Do you think we're making headway, Beatrice, in getting more people, young people involved? Do you think you see a difference from when you started maybe a few years ago in the industry? What do you think? Do you think we're making progress? Or don't be shy if you think we're not at all. We need to know. But what's your view?
I see some progress, but I know that we could do a lot more. So you know that I joined the industry with a graduate scheme myself, and that was just over 3 years ago. So I would really like to see more companies implementing these kind of schemes, whether it's an internship or a training program of 1 or 2 years. I think there is still a lot of work to be done. And especially it's very interesting to hear what Reuma says about the technology, because the new generation, the recent graduates, these are the people that are most likely to be familiar with the technology and actually able to bring new skills into the workplace just by having grown up with this technology. So the potential there is really limited.
I guess the next question will be, how do we get them to join us? Which is, it's not because we realize we need them that it's easy to get them to come and join us. And maybe before we move to the how we do that, I'd like to go to you, John, because I'm going to turn this around a little bit on its head. We talk a lot about women, the technology, young people, but as I said in my introduction, a staggering 40% of our expertise might leave in the next decade. So we still need a lot of the older generation or the more experienced generation to stick around. Not the one to lead the industry with everyone else, because it needs to represent them as a generation, but also to share their knowledge, to transfer the knowledge to the young people, to the new people joining the industry. And there's a danger that all the knowledge will bleed out. What do you think? Do you think we're doing a good job at making it easy for the older generation, the more experienced generation, to stick around if they want to? Or do you think we need to do better there as well?
I think that's a cultural thing. You're making a very interesting point. I worked a lot in Japan, where, dare I say, the older person is revered. In the West, maybe the older person is politely moved out. And every time you move out an older person, you're moving away 30, 40, 50 years of knowledge, know-how, and expertise. And we do a lot of mentoring in our organization, and I have a catchment of bluntly ex-IBMers who I worked with for many, many years. And we just come and do one-to-ones with much younger people, talking about social skills, talking about how we handle sales calls, talking about how we interact with people, and just really giving them the comfort level and the experience, if you like, in a fast track, which they otherwise wouldn't necessarily get, especially in today's world where we live, as you know, as we are indeed at this very moment, on a screen, as opposed to the face-to-face interaction. And despite all the wonderful business systems, and you mentioned AI and all the rest of it, on the day when you're selling something to somebody or to an organization, statistics prove that nearly a half of the reason they buy from A as opposed to B is that personal contact and the human touch. And I think, unfortunately, dare I use the word AI, we're just losing so much of the key social skill and the key interaction. For example, young people won't go into a shop to buy. They'd rather buy it online. Now, that is tragic. That's almost like a lost generation of wonderfully skilled people. They may be genius on their phones, playing TikTok and playing games, but all that skill, if only we can harness it, we will have a secret army of people we can really usefully employ. So mentoring and bringing people into groups, to me and to us, we think is a good way forward. Very good way forward indeed.
And I think there's different ways of mentoring. You don't have to do the full-blown mentor program. You could have calls with people whenever they need it. You just have a coffee with someone, just so that they know so there's someone they can talk to if they're not sure. Or even at a networking event, you have a role to play as someone that knows more people at the networking event. Get the young people or the new people in, make them feel comfortable. It can take many, many shapes. You can't, it's easy to say, oh, I can't mentor. I don't have time. I don't have this or that. That's not true. I think everyone can mentor in their own way. As you say, it's a personal touch. Everyone has a own thing to bring to the industry, their knowledge, their experience, the people they know, their values. So I think that's a very good point you've made, John, there. So I guess now we've defined what talent we need. We defined the problem we have in finding them. Now, how do we solve that? What strategies can we implement to resolve this crisis? What real life things that you've done, maybe yourself have seen done that works? Maybe Mardia, you probably do that day in, day out. Share with us your view on how we can start to address this gap.
Thanks, Isabelle. Just maybe on that topic of being in the office or physically getting together, we did a study with our junior staff, and 82% of them wanted to have contact, to come into the office. We're not talking full time, not talking 24/7, 7 days a week, but they physically wanted to be present, and they wanted to have 78% of them wanted to have this personal contact. And they wanted to work directly with colleagues. So we have just, and this is always very controversial, but at Deutsche Telekom, we've just had a massive call to get people into physical contact with each other. So we have said that we expect leaders to be in the office quite extensively. And when I say extensively, I mean between 4 to 5 days a week, and general staff 3 days. And this is just a very vague general statement, because obviously we have different groups of people that work in very different ways. We have a lot of software developers that works across geographies, across teams, and of course then they get together very virtually. But we have felt that we lose something of the culture and of that kind of cohesiveness by not physically being there and getting together with people. So for us, we have spent a huge effort, asking Isabelle, what do we do? Spent a lot of effort on creating a workspace which is conducive for this kind of work. So it's away from the old idea of little cubicles where you sit, because we know that the individual kind of quiet work, programming work, coding That is something that you can sit and do at home in a very quiet space. But the collaborative spaces, the spaces where we do team initiatives, where we have, the bigger team brainstorming, creative sessions, those kind of canvas boards, working with different technologies and tools to make it exciting for people to be there, also to entice people to be back. Obviously offering things like, especially for younger people, graduate programs. In Germany, we have a lot of focus on this, working whilst gaining experience, whilst studying, offering the opportunity for people to upskill themselves. And these are the kind of things that we are going to have to look at. I think in terms of career progression, in typical classic telecommunications companies, we have a long legacy. We're a little bit more formal, traditional. There's been certain times in a certain role before you get make progress, before you can be promoted. These practices we will have to change, because young people want to see quick progress. They want to see if they've been successful. They want to be able to get into a new level. So we will have to rethink those kind of practices dramatically.
Yes, I agree with you. The young generation, I like to call them the zillennials. They're not maybe as patient as we were when we started. They want to do things and, as you say, see the result. I say sometimes when I present, they're used to having everything at the click of a button. They're expecting their career to move up at the click of a button, almost. I'm exaggerating. But this is their expectation. That's their reality from the time they were born. Things move fast and they don't expect to be in the same job or doing the same thing for that long. And it proved, I'm working with a lot of young people, very successful young people in the industry, and I see that, after a year, they move to another job, another one, they go up, they're moving up, they're changing, they're learning new things, which is good, but it comes with a challenge for the industry, because also I speak to companies and they say, well, we spend money on these young talents and then only for them to move on. And then we spend that money and we don't benefit for the time and the money that we spent on making them better. But then I tell them that's the new reality, and maybe you'll benefit the other way. Another company will have, taken a talent and brought it up, and you will benefit from that because they will come and work with you because you have a great company that they want to work for. So I don't think it's challenging, but you shouldn't stop yourself. But maybe you agree or disagree with me. What do you think, Reuma? When your customers, what tell me what you think.
I have to say, no doubt, every single customer wants a candidate that have enough time between jobs. So if we have in the audience potential candidates, that young people or any generation people, you have to stick in your role for enough time. The people that move too fast are actually people that not being hired, and Mardia, probably you will agree with me. So the moving fast is understood. They want to achieve, but if you want to move fast in your organization. This is good. So if you see a candidate that moved in the organization and done one role, and after 1 year you move to another, done some progress, that's a positive thing. But if they're moving between companies every year, they won't be hireable. So for that, I will a little bit disagree with you. You asked about strategy. What can we do? So for me, as a headhunter and someone been in the industry for some time, I won't say too long, I feel old, but for some time, as we said, I think graduate program is so crucial. I've seen companies that collected so many good kids in a graduate program, and they pushed them and taught them the industry, and they taught them the products, and they evolved so nicely in the company and embraced so nicely by the company. So graduate, it's not only the key to bring new talent, is to invest in our industry, in the next generation. I think remote working is and flexibility. What happened with COVID is we worked from home. Lots of moms worked from home. And all of a sudden, we reversed back to going back to the office. But the families kind of preferred that we had the parents at home. The candidate preferred the flexibility. And I've seen quite few people that decided, okay, maybe working is not for me. And we kind of lost talent on the phase of coming back. So I think some flexibility has to be done, some understanding that we've been in different world for some time, and now we're reversing back to the office, and this transition, even that people saying that they prefer to see each other, they want to be in the office, traveling time they're losing spending with their families. This is crucial. And I see some companies that not been adapting to the working from home and flexibility, and some talent we're losing. And I see companies that absolutely 100% flexible. And then I think diversity is quite important. Bring more and more. And thank you, John, for putting that quite from the beginning. The woman in our industry is absolutely crucial. I myself been in the army for some years, so the entire career from the army to the industry been always been in a room full of men, and I'm most likely the only woman, most likely. Sometimes Isabelle is with me, but
yes.
So we stick together and we go together, but a lot of the time. Most of my meetings are with men. Most of my, my colleagues are men. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy so much having friends male, but our industry needs more women. And Mardia, I think it's so clever that the quota you've put initially is much higher because you see the draw. But the more we get them from the beginning, the more we infuse our telecom with women, and we need that. I heard some research being done, and they say that the productivity of women is much more, and sorry men, but the productivity of women is much higher than men. So for that, and I'll finish with one more strategy. I don't know if you remember, we've been, Isabelle, in Cebu, and we had an interview, and you asked me, so what do you do to keep your people? That's another question. How do you keep your people? So that's the fourth strategy, is to invest in your people, to educate them and to put them in program and training. And the more you invest, some people will say, I invest too much, and then they go. You said that, Isabelle, but if you won't invest, they will seek somewhere else new technology. They will seek another company that will train them, and they will try to move quickly to gain, to be in line with the movement and the technology that's growing in the industry. So people, we are not stupid industry. There are lots of good people that's smart, and they identify that if you don't match yourself to the rhythm of the industry, you'll be out. So my recommendations to the hiring manager is to invest in your people, to put them in program, to define every year with each person in the company, what is it that you want to achieve this year? Choose a product that you want to learn, and let us help you to learn this new product.
Mm-hmm. And I think attracting more women, I think there's many things that needs to be done. But one thing that we should do, and I'm all about taking action yourself, is for all of us as women to show other women that it can be done. So doing panels like this, having women on stage, on video, going to speak with women, just so they know that there's other women out there. And there's quite a few women out there, actually, great women. So I think that's also part of our role to go and show them that it can be done. So one thing that you said, Reuma, is the fact that people want to maybe work from home more than going to the office. But maybe, Beatrice, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot, because we talked about young people, and the first thing we think is young people, they want to work from home. They don't necessarily want to be in the office. Is that true? Is that a true statement, Beatrice? Or maybe we have a misconception. Actually, maybe young people would prefer to work from the office to have more support. And what's your view as a young person?
I think that, actually the pandemic has made me more traditional than I thought I would be when it comes to this kind of topic. I started working 3 years ago in the middle of a pandemic. So going to the office was not even an option. The office was closed. And I noticed that it was actually much harder than what I thought it would be to learn, to understand how things work internally, to connect with colleagues. So I would say that especially for the first year or two, it is essential to have that face-to-face time and be able to connect with senior executives in person, because so much gets lost in online communication. So it's one thing if you already know how to do your job, you have a specific task and you can get on with it mostly remotely. But in the beginning, I think going to the office is a must, especially the first few months.
Okay. Thank you, Beatrice. So I think I'm being told that we need to close. Sorry, I thought I had longer than we thought. So maybe quickly to close us down, one final thought, everyone, maybe one word, one short phrase. What should people remember or think of when it comes to the talent crisis, in terms of what they should do themselves, or strategies, anything you want to leave people with? One concept. What is it? Reuma. Mardia, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So just one sentence, and this is a sentence our CHRO said, and I thought this was very apt. And she said, "We don't choose them, the talent, they will choose us."
Mm-hmm.
That's very good. Thank you, Mardia. Very good phrase. Reuma, do you want to go next?
Yeah, we talked about a lot of strategy, but one more thing. Companies need to think about recruiting global, not to focus on specific area. Be a bit more open-minded and think about global. Where do we find the diversity? Where do we find the talent?
Okay, thank you. Beatrice?
I think as an industry, we can't afford to lose the potential that comes with new graduates, but we also can't afford to lose the experience from senior executives. So what's the best way to make sure that these two groups of people communicate and exchange ideas?
Thank you. And last but not least, John, you're our man of the day. Close us off. What's your idea? What's your main idea you want to leave people with?
Right, very simply, the elephant in the room is unconscious bias. And for any men watching this right now, do they really have a good agenda to bring females into their organization? Leave it at that.
Thank you, John. Very good end to our panel. Everyone, thank you. It was an amazing panel. It flew by, and I think we went over. Sorry, everyone, if we messed up the agenda. But thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for discussing such an important topic for our industry. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.